everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Inchworm Show. I'm your host, Yashin Inchworm Phillips, and we're keeping it rolling. We're keeping it moving. I always have a special guest here. I normally don't do lives, but I have to do it because April 2nd is approaching, and that means it's time to vote.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I stated the other day, I'm working with the hashtag #JustDoIt_Vote Coalition, and our mission is to get millennials to get out there to vote and also to start the conversation about voting. Within that, with my platform, I wanted to make sure that we introduce you to who these people are who are running for office. The work that I've been doing with the coalition, I've discovered that a lot of millennials don't know who these people are running for office. So, but it's okay. It's okay. This is why I have my platform. And without further ado, this is why I have Mr. Ritter here. Hello.
Hello, Yashin.
Hello.
Pleased to meet you.
Hello.
Pleased to be here.
Yes, you met me before.
Well,
Rick.
I did meet you before at the Yes, Just Do It Stretchers Bar and Grill when we had the
we had
excellent.
The forum.
We had a great time.
The forum, and you're here. You've already served on the Waukegan Public School Board.
Yes.
And now we're running again to keep that position, right?
That is correct. That is correct.
Absolutely. So I've seen you, and then we also met at the other forum for the Waukegan school.
Yes, for Waukegan to college, or were you also at the school forum at City Hall?
At City Hall,
that the children
yes.
did,
Yes.
the high school kids did.
Absolutely.
Excellent job. They did a wonderful job.
They did a wonderful job. So I know the race is almost over.
Thank goodness.
You're almost there, Rick. You're almost there. You're at the home stretch. So before I get into anything, I just want the people to get out there and just to learn a little bit about you. So tell the people who you are. Where are you from? Give us a little bit of who Rick is.
Okay, well, Rick is born in Waukegan, born and raised in Waukegan.
Okay.
I have also raised 3 children in Waukegan schools.
Uh-huh.
So they went through Waukegan schools. They all did well and went on to college, thank goodness, and graduated. 2 of them are teachers, and 1 is a computer programmer and lives out in California.
Okay.
So my son David, and then my 2 daughters. 1 teaches in Chicago, and 1 teaches here in Waukegan. Although she has just given that up, she's doing some homeschooling with her kids and into real estate a little bit. So that's Rebecca. But I also was in the Air Force for 4 years.
Okay.
I actually when I graduated, I started teaching. However, I was drafted while I was teaching, so at the end of the year, joined up with the Air Force. So, and had a wonderful assignment actually in Europe. So I spent 4 years in Europe, stayed over there another year and taught in a British school, and then brought my wife back with me from England.
Oh, so you found your wife out there,
I found her over there thanks to the Air Force.
You had to bring her back.
I had to bring her back. She's too good to leave there. So.
Shout your wife out. What's your wife's name?
Yeah, Joyce.
Hello, Joyce.
Hey, Joyce. and so then coming back, European schools, run through the summer. They don't finish until the end of July. So I didn't get right back into teaching as a full-time teacher. I was doing some subbing work, but I ended up getting into later on getting into insurance and working with the sheriff's office for 33 years. So I brought educational programs back into the jail. We didn't really have any educational programs in the jail, so did that for 33 years. And I did work part-time as an instructor at CLC as well for about 8 years.
Okay.
And so education is my passion. I know that it's the way to get ahead. My father was a factory worker, and he always stressed to us, you need to get an education. So I was the first one in my family to get a college degree, and thanks to the Air Force, I went on and had a master's degree as well. So in counseling psychology. So I know that it opens doors. Education is the tool that opens a lot of doors to our children and to the possibilities of them fulfilling their lives in other ways. So when I retired 4 years ago from the sheriff's office, I thought, what can I do in Waukegan to make a difference? I'm not ready to sit back and throw out a fishing pole and watch that. Although I do have a boat and I do some sailing on Lake Michigan. But can only do that when the weather's, mild and not too crazy out there on the big lake. So I decided to run for the school board.
Okay.
And ran and was elected and have enjoyed my 4 years on the board and felt like we're making some headway. So I wanted to go on and try again and see if the public wants me, if they want to approve me for the school board a second time around. I have some plans that, I haven't finished what we wanted to accomplish. I want to really give every child the opportunity that I've had and that my children have had in Waukegan schools. So
absolutely. So, can you talk about what the school board does? I want to make sure we're clear on what exactly you do as a school board member.
Okay, yes. So the school board, officially, when you go in and you get elected, you think, well, we have 2 meetings a month and then an operational meeting and a student achievement meeting, a committee meeting 1 week. So really it's 3 meetings a month, but it actually ends up oftentimes being a lot more than that. We have other committee meetings, other activities that we have to get involved with. So any school board member devotes a great deal of time to their work on the school board. There's a lot of material that we learn about. Daily we're getting updates on what's going on in our schools, problems, concerns, issues that we're going to be facing. And then we have these operational meetings on these third Tuesday of the month where we go through what's going to be discussed and coming up for consideration in one of our open board meetings. So we have to consider those things, we talk about them, and then we make the board is really setting policy. So we're not micromanaging or running the daily activities of the school. We hire the superintendent who hires the staff to manage the school. So we're reviewing policies and we're looking at decisions that have to be made, approving actions that the school administrators are going to be taking.
Can you give a few examples or 1 or 2 examples of the types of policies that you all discuss?
Sure. Well, I'll give you one example. It was somewhat controversial, and that is the idea of we decided to suspend our reading teachers and do away with the way we operated with reading specialists for an entire year. So our superintendent advised the board that this was needed because our reading specialists were working very, very hard, but we didn't seem to be showing growth. And so we wanted to look at some best practices around the country and see what could be done to improve the efforts of our reading specialists. Now this was very controversial, and the board discussed these things at length before we made a decision to do it. And finally the majority of the board decided this is what we were going to do. So we did suspend our reading specialists. They went into the classroom for a year, and then after that year was up, by that time the administration recommended how we were going to go about recreating these positions of reading specialists and they were actually going to be math interventionists as well, because children need to learn reading and math by 3rd grade. If they haven't learned how to read by 3rd grade, they're going to be behind. The best practices show they're going to be behind the rest of their school years through 12th grade, and many of them will be dropping out. So we don't want that to happen, and that has been happening. So we also needed to give our reading and math interventionists materials that they didn't have previously. They had to create their own materials. So we, during that year, the administration looked at what was the best materials out there for reading and math, and we bought those materials for our reading teachers, reading interventionists and math interventionists. So that was a very tough decision for the board to make, but we made the decision, and then brought the reading specialists back into the. So that's a policy that the board had to deal with. We had to finally approve what was going to go on, and then we also had to approve the materials that were going to be purchased. So we bought ReadyGen materials. So these are nationally recognized materials. That's just one of the materials. There was Dreambox and many others that we purchased, over $1 million worth of materials for our reading specialists. And then we bought materials for these reading specialists are also math specialists. So they're pulling children out or pushing into the classroom, working with kids. Especially the focus has been on the kindergarten through 3rd grade children. That has been the focus, the main focus.
That's what I was going to ask. What were the age?
Their main focus, but now they're also working through 5th grade with the 5th grader all the way up to 5th grade. But their main focus is working on the young ones and whatever their deficit is. And what they're doing now is they're pulling a child out for 6 weeks at a time. Not for the whole day, of course, but just for to work with that child for 6 weeks, and then they retest the child and see if the deficit has moved forward. And when I've talked to some of the reading teachers that we have in our district now who went back into as specialists, reading math specialists, they said, this is a much better program. We're working just as hard or harder as we did, but the difference is we're seeing results. We all are doing on the same page now. We're doing the same thing with kids all throughout our 15 different elementary schools. And so we're seeing some success with that program over what it was previously.
Okay.
So that was one of the decisions that the board, gets involved with. We get involved with policy decisions like that affect our staff and our students. And then we have to evaluate, do we want to approve what's being recommended? And if we do, we have to continue to monitor that and see if if the change has resulted in a positive way in what we wanted to see. And it's showing a positive change. We're hearing that from our reading specialists now.
From the reading specialists and also the test scores.
And the test scores are showing that in the schools. And then we've been piloting a math program. Mm-hmm. So we're doing, we started here just a couple years ago, piloting in 6 schools, and that's called Everyday Math. Again, it was a nationally recognized program. Put it in 6 schools, compared those 6 schools to our other elementary schools, and we saw a big difference. So in what the children are making progress, they're reading they're doing math at the national standard level or even above. So what the board has done just recently is to approve a roughly $250,000 to buy this everyday math program or it's also called short EM4, to buy it for all of our schools. So next year it will go into all of our schools.
Okay.
So that is the board deals with policies like that. We also then, it was recommended to the board recently that we, and I can talk to you about this because this is done in general session. So you can look back on our board docs and see your board minutes and see what we've done. But we approved a program called Carnegie Learning. And this is for the children, the students in middle school through high school. So this will continue with a nationally recognized program in math, so that our teachers, our math teachers, and we have a math specialist who works with the teachers in all the different buildings to help them teach these new programs.
Okay.
And so that again, we're talking about a program that's roughly $250,000. It's a big commitment. All this information is brought to the board.
Right.
We have to analyze and discuss whether we think this is worth the money and worth the training that it's going to cost and the time that's going to cost to work with our teachers in this new program and get buy-in from them, and then we approve it. So these are big issues that the board has to make decisions on.
What are some challenges? What have been some of the challenges that you all as a board have tried that you haven't really agreed on in terms of accepting or approving policies?
Policies? Well, the board doesn't have to agree entirely on anything. There's 7 of us on the board,
right? And
so 4 is a majority. So when 4 agree, the policy or the action will move forward. There's usually some concerns on the board. We're not all coming from the same place looking at any particular issue, and that's the beauty of having a board that works together as a team, and board members are encouraged to voice their opinions about every topic we discuss, whether that be positive or negative, and then the board has to make a decision. And sometimes we're not ready to make a decision just yet, so we postpone action on some particular decision. For instance, I know last week you talked about the lights.
Right,
at Wise Field.
Yes.
At Wise Field. So the board basically wants to move forward with this, but we're not able to just yet because we discussed it. It was brought to the board's attention. In fact, the recommendation from the administration was that we move forward and get those lights at Wise Field. We've been talking about it for a long time. The money has been set aside to do this. And the board discussed it in open session and said, we wonder how this is going to impact the community around there. There's some schools, there's not a lot of houses around their areas where their fields are. And most high schools have night games, and we would like to have night games and have those lights there. However, the board was concerned what the public in that area would think about big lights and noise in the evening. So we discussed that briefly as a board and said we think we need to have some public input so that we don't just go as a community and put those lights in there and later on find out from the community that's living there that they don't support that, that there's too much noise and the kids are trying to sleep or parents are trying to sleep so that particular issue was somewhat contentious. We decided to pull it off the agenda and not vote on it at this time and wait until we get public input. So a meeting is going to be set up, a community meeting, and maybe several community meetings. We're also going to get city zoning, make sure we have the zoning approval for this before we move forward. So that's another example of an issue was somewhat contentious, and we decided to hold it.
What do you feel about, what are your thoughts, or what would you say to the people out there who feel like who are disappointed with the board. They feel like things have not been accomplished within the school system. They're frustrated about the policies. I mean, what advice or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, certainly, you have access to people that are and we want to hear from our community. We want to hear both positive and negative concerns. So if the public is concerned about an issue that they don't think the board is moving forward on, or they're not, or what the decisions that they're making is not the one that they think is the right one, they have access to our emails and our phone numbers. They should call and talk to us. All the board members want to hear their input. They can also come to the board meeting. We have an open comment or public comment session at each board meeting, so they have 3 minutes to respond or to give us some input on issues that they feel we need to know about. Unfortunately, we don't hear from enough of the public. The people that are disgruntled will usually let us know that don't agree with the action the board is taking, but sometimes those who think we're moving okay
right.
Don't let us know, or a lot of the public are not really, they seem to be unconcerned, and we as board members want to represent the public, so we need to know what their feelings are and if they think we're taking the right action. The other side of, I think, your answer is that, or an answer to your question is that it takes time.
Right.
The board only meets for action twice a month. So on the second Thursday and the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday of the month.
Do you think you should have more meetings? I mean,
well, when we talk to members of boards in other districts, some of them only have one meeting a month.
Oh,
wow. Those are our smaller boards. This is a huge district. It's
right.
a consolidated district. We have a lot of concerns in our district and a lot of actions that need to be taken because it's a consolidated district, so we run from preschool all the way through high school. I don't think a meeting every week would necessarily improve things. I don't think that would, there'd be there's so much preparation that goes into planning every meeting. I don't know that we could have actions that we would take every week, but we do take actions every 2 weeks. But even when we take action, it takes time for things to be implemented. Let me give you an example. Earlier in the year, the board approved, at the recommendation of the administration, that all of our teachers get laptops.
Okay.
Now, right now, they have desktops that are in their classrooms. So, of course, if they want to go into the teacher's lounge, they can't carry the desktop in
right.
the teacher's lounge. Or they do work at home, they can't carry it home with them. So the recommendation of the administration was that we have laptops. And this was put in the budget a year ago. We're talking about $1 million, a little over $1 million, to purchase laptops for all of our teachers, but in a very important need of our teachers. And the administration recommended this to the board, and the board discussed it. We thought, in the discussion, we talked about, are other districts doing this? Yes, they are. Do we have the money in our budget? Is this going to take money away from the kids? Money that we need to buy books with, or computers for the children? And they said, no, this is something that's very important. It's going to help the teachers improve the delivery of what they're teaching. So the board approved this action, and that was earlier in this year, the school year. So it might have been October or whatever that we approved it. Some of the teachers came back to us and said, how come we still don't have these computers? When are we going to get them? Well, in actual fact, the board said, what's happening? We asked the administration, what's happening with this? And they said, it takes time. When an order goes out like this, we have to get the best price. We have to get a price locked in. We have to order. You're ordering computers for over 1,000 teachers.
Right.
That's a lot of computers. And then when the computers come in, we also have to load those computers with software. You have to get licenses. So on the agenda, they had shown the timeline when they originally presented this to us, and we forgot what the timeline was. It wasn't until closer to the end of the school year that those computers would actually be delivered to our teachers. So that's going to happen very soon here. They're going to get these computers that were ordered back in September or whatever, and they're finally going to get these computers. There's training that has to go out. Some of our teachers are not familiar with laptops and how they work. So some of our
So it's just.
So there's lots of issues. So there's when any time the board makes a decision, it doesn't mean that the action is going to take place right away, or that those computers can just we go pick them up at CDW and just pass them right out to all the teachers.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that happen.
Okay.
So issues like that, I'm just showing the complexity of this. This is not a job that is very simple to do as a board member.
Right.
It takes a lot of thought. Just as any action we take, there's many steps to it.
Yeah.
So when we implement even a program like the math program that I was talking about, or the literacy program, the Ready Gen program, there's a lot of study and actions that have to take place over a period of time before these things can be implemented in all of our schools, and all of our teachers, are familiar with it and get the professional development they need to implement the program. And then we, of course, test to see, is this having the impact on our children? Because that's the focus. We want to make sure that what we're doing is resulting in children doing better, that the educational gap is closing for our children, that they're reading better, that they're doing math better, that they're improving their academic performance.
Aside from all of your educational background, you taught in Europe, you've taught, you had this heavy, large background in education. What else do you bring to the board besides that sort of sticks you out and sets you apart from the rest of the board members?
First off, I think I've been a team player. Because I've worked with big organizations like the Air Force, I was in the Air Force, I know that people are different and that we have to work as a team to get anything done. I mean, we learned this in the Air Force in basic training. You don't get through the obstacle course without everybody working together as a team, and everybody had to get through it. So you had to help those that needed a little extra help to get over the climbing wall.
Yeah.
So I've learned how to work as a team member. I've also learned that people have different abilities and different skills and different ideas. And so I'm willing to listen to other people and hear what they have to say. And they may not agree with me, and that's good. I need to understand, because I may not be right.
Right.
So I consider what they've said. But I still have I understand that each of us have the right to our opinion. I may change my opinion. So I think I bring that ability to work with others as a team for a goal. And again, I go back to my military training and when I worked in the sheriff's office, which is semi-militaristic as well. You learn how things get done. You also learn chain of command, and you respect people in the job they do. So I bring that, and I think being in education, I'm not impatient with the results. I know that it takes time. Children are different. It takes time. We can't deal with each child in the same way, and there's also skills involved in when we implement a program into the schools. Each school is going to do it a little differently. We don't want them all the same. We can allow for creativity. I understand what creativity is involved,
right?
And that we want that to develop. So when I go into classrooms and I see one teacher with all kinds of decorations in the room, and I go into another one, I wouldn't expect to see the same thing. And teachers have a different style of teaching, and I respect that. And I respect the creativity that they bring into their classrooms.
What's one thing you need to work on, Rick?
Well, this is something my wife always told me. I do a little too much talking.
Okay.
So you probably see that. I'm answering your question, with a big answer instead of short and sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you talk too much, Rick.
I know I talk too much. You got it, Yashin.
Okay.
Yashin, this is only a half an hour, and I thought we were going to go for an hour and a half.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think that it's important.
That's something I'm aware of, though, that I do spend a little too much time, and it's something I have to work on. But what I bring to the board, I guess, is my background and my passion for education.
If you could give the school board, the work that you've done with the school board so far, if you could rate you from 1 being the lowest and 10 from the work of the improvements that you all have made as a collectively, what would you rate the whole board?
How would I rate the board in the past 4 years?
In the past 4 years,
in the past 4 years as to what we've done, I think the board has done an amazing job. I think that we have brought about some change that our community wanted to see.
Okay.
All one has to do is walk into some of our school buildings and see the physical plan. We have a capital improvement plan now for 5 years and 10 years going out. We didn't have that previously. People bemoaned the fact, I bemoaned the fact as a parent, walking into our schools and seeing the shabbiness of some of the school buildings, the lack of new windows, paint on just going into some of the gyms. I complained about that. I complained about our trap auditorium. My daughter, teaching in the schools, complained about the heat in the summertime when we tried to run summer school programs, enrichment programs for our kids. She said at one point, she even took a picture of her crayons in the classroom with the small kids and said, look at this, the crayons are melting. So, I mean, things were so bad. And I think some of that has been corrected. We have air conditioning in many of our schools. We have our buildings painted. We have new windows in a lot of our schools. We have a new trap auditorium with new seats. So the physical plant has improved. And that's important for our children and our staff. So how they feel about what we pride our buildings and our schools and what they do. Also, the tools that we've given our teachers to use. The software programs, the programs I was speaking about. Those things our kids live in a digital age. They have to know how to use computers. We're providing one-on-one computers for our children all through 6th grade, right through high school.
So is that
and
like,
many of our elementary schools. That was not available.
Is that like an 8, a 9? I'm looking for a
you're
number,
looking
Rick.
for a number.
I'm looking for a number, Rick. What
How
the 10?
have we done? I'd say out of a 10, we are at 7 or 8. We're not perfect by any means, but I think we are moving forward in the right direction to close the educational gap and give more children in our schools. And we're developing new programs to do that too. We have so many things planned down the road. We have an internship program this summer that's starting out where we have a lot of people that are in support services, our maintenance people, electricians, painters, plumbers. We're going to hire 12 children this summer and put them into internship programs. Wonderful. Why wasn't this done previously?
Right.
So we're going to be putting children in, and they can put that on their resume, and they may get excited about working with one of the electricians or the plumbers, or the maintenance people, and decide this is a field I want to go into. We're sending twice as many kids to the tech campus now than we did previously. That was a big concern of mine. Not everybody wants to go to college. I've gone with kids to our tech campus out at CLC and saw those middle school kids get their eyes start to glow. When they walked into the mechanic shop, or they walked into the engineer of the shop, or the welding shop. I got excited even. I made myself a little airplane out of steel. So I was excited, and I could have changed careers. I became a welder. And there's good money in that. So we're sending more kids to that tech campus. One of my passions would be to bring some of those tech skills back into our high schools. Right. So our kids could get workshop again. And some of them do have some of that stuff, but I'd like to see more right there in our own schools.
What's your plans to help out the students with the test scores?
What we're working on, test scores are not the be all and end all, but we're trying to close the education gap, and we're doing that. We're starting with building the core, and the core is reading and math. And we're concentrating in the lower levels. We're not forgetting about the others. We're giving them tutoring. We're offering more summer schools, enrichment programs and stuff for our other children, but we're beginning to build the core in reading and math, so these kids are not behind. And that will improve their attitude about school as well. If they are leaving 3rd grade and they're at grade level, they're going to continue at grade level. Because they're excited about school, and they'll stay at grade level. If they leave, unfortunately, and they're reading at 1st grade level and they're now in 4th grade, they're behind already. And to catch them up is so hard. And then they're behind when they go to 5th grade. We're also not socially promoting kids now. The board made that decision. It was a very tough one. We may have to remodify it a bit, because right now we have really only 20% of our kids meeting standard. We'd like to see it flipped. We'd like to see 70% of the kids at standard, for reading and math. So we have a lot of work to do to move forward, but we're trying. We're making some progress. And I would mention to you that I
appreciate you, Rick, because you're very optimistic about the work.
Yes.
And that you're not only optimistic, but you're sure about the work that's already been
and we've got
accomplished.
We've got some wonderful teachers in our school system. Most of our teachers are just working their hearts out, and they care about our kids. My kids had great teachers in Waukegan schools, and those teachers may have retired, but we have new ones who are just as enthusiastic and working so hard. And the board sees some of this as we walk around the schools, and then as they make presentations to our board, some of the kids come in and present to our board, and we see what these kids are doing and how well. Behind them, the reason they're doing so well is the teachers that they have.
Absolutely.
We have one of the best ROTC programs in the country. We have fabulous, our kids are doing extracurricular stuff like the choirs have won numerous awards. Our music program. So Waukegan has a lot of great stuff going on. We just don't get the proper recognition for it.
Why do you think that is?
I think the city itself has always been kind of like the can that's kicked down the road. Waukegan lost its industry. It lost a lot of the people that used to be professionals, and they moved out of Waukegan. Although we're still the county seat, we're not respected as much as we used to be. And it was easy to kind of look elsewhere and see all the new buildings and the money that the other communities have to spend, and the Gurney Mills and the Vernon Hills and all the areas that retail. Waukegan lost its retail, so we're kind of looked down upon, and I think we shouldn't be, because I think Waukegan has some great things about it. We're a diverse community. We want to build the schools back up so that people look at Waukegan and know this is a place where I'd like to live.
Right.
We're on one of the Great Lakes. We have a beautifully multicultural community, and I think these are assets that we have, and if we lift our schools up, we're going to lift our community up as well.
Right. If you don't win this seat on the school board, how do you plan on still contributing to the community and to the schools?
Well, win or lose, I will certainly still, and Waukegan to College is very interested in getting some more medical and mental health facilities into our schools, especially our high school. So we're going to be going out to Round Lake, which recently put something like that in, and I would still push for something like that. I want to see a medical clinic and mental health clinic in our high schools, and our superintendent is in favor of this as well. So she'll be looking for grants. We have a new grant writer. This is another new thing that came into our school district. There was a need for grants. We lost a big important grant because we didn't have a grant writer, and it became a competitive grant. We'd had it, a pre-K grant. We'd had it every year and just thought it was just going to roll through, and even though it became competitive, and there were some problems with the way that grant was written, and we lost it. But that's not going to happen again, because now we've hired a Waukegan graduate, by the way, who worked as a grant writer with the College of Lake County, and she's working for us now and excited about working for us. So we're going to get this extra money that we need.
That's awesome.
So I see a lot of hope for Waukegan, and so I'm going to continue to work for change.
You're so optimistic, Rick.
Well, I'm optimistic. I'm an optimist by nature, but I know that sometimes when there's a roadblock, you have to go around it.
Absolutely.
Or if something doesn't happen the way you planned it, you have to adjust your plan a little bit.
All right. So I want to take some time here to read some comments. I got my production assistant, Shalina, behind the camera. Let's yell out some things here. What we got?
So Michelle Vaughn says Rick Riddle did an excellent job hosting GED classes in the jail prior to his transition. He continues to add value. Exclamation point.
Michelle Vaughn. Thank you, Michelle.
All right,
Michelle. I worked with Michelle Vaughn at CLC, and what a wonderful person. And she's got the heart for continuing education in the college. And then I believe Michelle may have gone into her own motivational program. I think she did. But thank you, Michelle.
That's awesome. It definitely takes a village. It takes people who just care about their communities and care about education and the things that are going on in the world in order to make everything better. I mean, being a school board member is not paid. It's not paid. It's a voluntary position. It's a voluntary position.
The rewards come back because we get to see as board members, we get to walk in the schools, we get to participate in the activities, and our reward is seeing the children and the students and what they are performing and what they are doing.
But it is. But I do have to put emphasis on that, because I think people think that you just you get paid for it. It's different if you're not getting paid for it.
Yes, it is.
There is a difference.
There is a difference, but I think our school board, everybody on our school board knows and is there because they care about the kids.
Absolutely.
They really do.
Okay. Another question here?
Michelle just added, it's all about servant leadership.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
Rick, why should people vote for you April 2nd to be on the school board?
Well, I would, I guess the reason they should vote is if they want somebody that likes to talk No, seriously, I will do my best to continue to make the progress that we have made, I think, and are making. There's a lot to do yet, and I'm willing to put the effort. I have the energy, as you can see. I'm not about ready to throw my fishing pole out at the lake, although I'd like to fish, but I'm not ready to do that yet. So I guarantee you I will work very hard to continue to make progress with our children, because I believe they deserve it. They get one chance. And I do have a grandchild in Waukegan schools now, and I certainly want, and I'll have another one soon. So in the schools, I have 4 grandkids, but I want to make sure that those kids have the opportunities my kids had, and I want to make sure that every child has those opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Rick. Thank you for being a part of everything that's been going on, all of the people who are running, for all the candidates who are running for office, who are already sitting in the seats on the board. Just thank you for being a part of this and actually caring about your communities. I always talk about being the exception. That's being proud of who you are, being proud of where you came from, and always excelling and doing more than what's expected of you. And once you do that, things will flourish, things will come to pass. All your dreams and everything you want to happen will definitely come to pass if you do that. Continue to watch out for the hashtag JustDoIt_Vote Coalition. We're going to be meeting once again April 2nd to go over who won the race. We're going to be talking about who the candidates and what they've been doing, and it's going to be a really, really amazing show. It's going to be on the Crazy Ryan Show, where we're all going to be talking about you candidates and
great.
and our experiences with
wonderful.
you. Yeah, but you're almost there. It's April 2nd is coming. You're almost there.
Almost there. Thank you, Yashin. I couldn't keep doing this if it was next year. Politicking is not what I want to do. So it's been long enough.
It definitely has. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you continue to follow me online. Share this video. Share this video. And continue to follow the Inchworm Show. What's that, Rick?
Vote for Rick Riddle.
Yep, vote for Rick Riddle.
Get out there and vote, because I just voted today, and there were only 300 people, believe it or not, at the Jane Addams Center that had voted. I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
So we need more people to get out there and vote.
Absolutely. We need the millennials to get out there and vote.
Millennials, get out there.
Yes. And you know what? I said vote for who you want to vote for.
Yes.
Alrighty. So thank you so much. Thank you to my production assistant, Shalima Ramos, for doing a great job. All of you have a great night, and peace out.
Yes, peace out. Thank you.